Okay, so we've had a pretty long season for camping and used the trailer quite a lot, or as much as we possibly could, but now it's come time to winterize the camper. So today's video is going to be about me doing that for the first time, figuring out where the different things in the camper that I need to address winterizing issues. Some of the stuff I've already done. I've already drained most of the water out of the supply and hot water side of the camper. So if everything goes right today, I will be blowing out the potable water system and then adding antifreeze just to be as safe as we can possibly be. It gets pretty cold here in Connecticut, so got to do what I can to protect the investment. So the first thing I did was, as I mentioned before, I located the low point drain, which is right here on the underside of the camper, and I opened those up. I'll show you in just a second. And then just to make sure I didn't have any suction, because you always need to have air over water, I opened up the pressure vent on the hot water tank so that I would get some air behind the water and let all that water drain. I actually did that last weekend. It's been opened for the last week. Here's the low point drain if you take a look at under the camper. It's right there. There's a couple screw caps. Some people put valves on here so it's easy to open them up. You can see they just unscrew. Take them off all the way, make sure there's no water left in the system, and when we blow those out with air, any water that was in there should come out from here. Now we're going to use a compressor to put 30 psi worth of air pressure into the city inlet so that we can blow out any water that's in the lines. I don't expect there to be any since it's been draining for the last week, but you know, I just want to be as cautious as possible. After you put the pressure in, again, make sure you have the low point drains open so that water has somewhere to go. Don't be surprised if the water squirts out of the low point drains and kind of travels along the skirting of the trailer itself, so you start to see leaks at what looks like maybe the front or the back of the trailer. It's just the water squirting out of the low point drain, traveling along the skirting. Don't get nervous. Once the water stopped coming out of the low point drain, put the caps back in. You're going to basically repressurize the system, and then you're going to go to each one of the different faucets and toilet and shower and outside shower, and you're going to open up those valves the same way so that any pressure in the system blows out the water that way. Next thing you're going to do is loosen up the actual sacrificial anode that's in the water heater. You can take that out, prevent it from corroding any further over the winter. You also need to do that to make sure that the tank is drained completely. And then once that's drained, you can get in there with a special hose nozzle that allows you to kind of get all the sediment and stuff that's been collecting there all season. And you need a 1 1/16 inch socket for that. Loosen up, it's not really in there that tight. Once you take that out, it should look something like this. nasty. There's all the minerals and stuff that's been in the water supply that you've been shoving in your camper all year. So as you can probably see, all the white material down around on the driveway right now, that was all in the water heater. So you can imagine that over time that kind of all builds up, makes the water heater run less efficiently, and probably helps to decrease the life expectancy of the water heater. So it's important to get all that crap out of there, and now it's in my driveway. Alright, once you've got the water heater cleaned out, it's time to go inside the camper, underneath the sink, underneath the cabinet, and remove the partitions they have that keep you from seeing the business end of the water heater. We're going to have to adjust or turn the valves, the bypass valves, to make sure the water heater is out of the plumbing circuit. Okay, so now that we finally got all the fascia out of the way, you can pretty much see what you've always wondered is back here, because it's always humid anytime you open up this cabinet during your camping trips. This is why. It's the back end of the water heater. So what we're after here is we are going to bypass the heater by making sure that your water supply, hot water supply in this case, is perpendicular. That valve is perpendicular to the pipe, which means it's now blocked. The cold water supply is now blocked, and then this is actually the bypass. We're just going to open that up by turning that valve down. So now you can see the blocks are perpendicular and the bypass is in parallel, or in the same line as water. So what's going to happen now, the potable water is going to come in on the blue pipe and get bypassed directly back out the hot water. We've effectively taken the water heater out of the circuit, which means we don't have to worry about filling that up with antifreeze. Alright, then the last part of getting to the potable water system is making sure that you've got the filter out of the housing and prepped to bypass, so that you can then use the existing winterizing part of the camper where you suck in the antifreeze. You don't want the filter in the way for that. You want everything exposed and bypassed if you can. That is underneath the bathroom sink, again behind some fascia board. Okay, so this is the water filter. You want to get the filter out of there. We have already pushed air through this, so there's really no water left in here. You don't want to leave any water in here, so it's best to take the cup off, take the filter out, throw it away. Okay, so got the filter out, put the canister back in again. I'm pretty sure that that canister is going to fill up with antifreeze, and that's how it's going to pressurize the rest of the potable water system. The way we're going to do this is this is the feed that goes into the pump. So currently the pump is drawing from the tank, and what we want it to do is draw from the outside winterizing connection, because that's what's going to do this whole thing, where the pump is going to draw in the antifreeze on the outside of this thing. So we're going to switch this bypass valve so that it's in line with the winterizing hose. Alright, that's pretty much it. Once you got all that set up, water's blown out, drains are clear, faucets are clear, we have the water filter out, we have the canister back together again, we have the bypass switch switched from city water to winterizing. The next thing to do is to turn on the water pump. You can hear it charging. Alright, so my guess is use about 1 to 2 gallons of this stuff to charge the potable water supply. And I'll use the other 1.5 gallons that I have left over to put in the P-trap so we don't end up with the frozen drains. Absolute last thing you can do with whatever leftover antifreeze you have is pour some down each drain. Every drain has a P-trap. Make sure you put antifreeze in every P-trap. The last thing you want to do is open up the freshwater tank so that whatever water's in there drains out. Again, did that last week. It's had a week to drain. Freshwater drain is right underneath the driver's side rear tire. Underneath, kind of looks like one of those lemonade dispensers. On mine, if you rotate it all the way to the right hand side, that's open. If you rotate it to the left hand side, that's closed. You want to keep it in the open position. So that's it. Winterized. Potable water system's covered. Water heater tank is covered. P-traps are covered. Freshwater tank is covered. Filter and filter canister are covered. Everything was blown out through the low point drain. That pretty much covers it. There's really no room left for anything else to go. It's a pretty simple water system. If you've winterized a house or a cottage, you can do this no problem. It's just a question of knowing where all the things are. So I hope this video's helped. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this and you want to see more of these, then give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks again for watching.